In the 2010s, new video game genres arrived. Fandoms rose and fell, esports came into their own, countless indie games proved their worth, and blockbuster releases became bigger and more impressive than ever. Over the past decade, gaming changed forever. These are the titles that paved the way. A game doesn't have to be complicated to be fun. Just look at Clash of Clans for proof. Supercell's mobile strategy game isn't as deep as games like StarCraft II or Command & Conquer, but that's part of the game's charm. Clash of Clans is simple enough that anyone, even people who don't consider themselves gamers, can boot it up and start having fun. Clash of Clans' easy startup is a big reason why many people spent the 2010s glued to their phones. Some of those people went on to try more hardcore strategy games, others didn't. That's okay. As long as more people are playing games, we all win. Of course, not all change is good. Clash of Clans is the highest-earning game on the iOS App Store, having made more than $6.4 billion in microtransactions. Tired of seeing in-game purchases pop up in your games? You have Clash of Clans and its mobile sibling Candy Crush, which also arrived in 2012, to thank. While From Software's Demon's Souls is technically the first Souls game, it's the follow-up, Dark Souls, that pushed the punishing formula into the mainstream. Building on a well-established action RPG formula, Dark Souls wowed players with its ingenious looping levels, dark and moody atmosphere, and alluringly opaque lore. Yes, Dark Souls is hard, but the real draw is that with practice and patience, you get better. Overcoming the Dark Souls foe that you've spent hours and hours studying, battling, and being destroyed by is one of gaming's most sincere pleasures. That you get to do it while exploring an expertly realized world? All the better. In fact, Dark Souls proved so popular that a whole host of imitators followed. Not only did From Software make 2 sequels and similar titles like Bloodborne and Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, but other companies have given us soul-likes like Nioh, Code Vein, Ashen, and more. When an entire genre is named after a single franchise, you know it's done something right. It used to be that MMORPGs like World of Warcraft were where you'd go team up with other players and grind for weapons. Destiny brought that same experience to action games. By providing a satisfying shooting experience, regular updates, and a never-ending supply of guns, Destiny transformed nightly gaming sessions into a full-time job. Bungie's newest franchise proved that, as long as players have enough things to do, they'll never put your game down. Destiny's formula has been refined and improved by games like Warframe, The Division 2, and Destiny's own sequel. But it's the original game that started the trend. Ignore the shoddy dialogue, the nonsensical plot, or the sometimes infuriating design decisions. The rise of games as a service started right here. Before Five Nights at Freddy's, Scott Cawthon was ready to quit game development. Fortunately, he decided to take one last shot. After one critic complained that his cute characters looked scary, Cawthon decided to see what would happen if he tried to make something truly horrifying. Boy, did it pay off! First came the jump scares, which provided fodder for YouTubers to make fools of themselves and rake in the clicks doing so. Next came the intentionally ambiguous lore, which spawned countless fan theories and kept fans engaged. Finally, Cawthon's quick and unpredictable release schedule, 9 games in 5 years, many of which arrived as a complete surprise, kept the momentum going. Now there are multiple Freddy's spin-off novels. McFarlane Toys' Freddy's merchandise is the company's best-selling product line ever. And there's even a theme park attraction and a movie on the way. From game industry burnout to head of a one-man media empire? That's not just impressive, it's the best feel-good story of the 2010s. Only a few games become legitimate cultural phenomena, and Fortnite is fortunate enough to number among them. Fortnite made the Battle Royale genre a household name. It has been played by everyone from Drake to Ellen, and it attracts more viewers than most primetime TV shows. Need more proof? Turn on the TV or head to a public event and see how much time passes before you see someone flossing. Spoiler, it won't be long.
Floss, let's get it. Come on, baby. Show me what you got. Show me. Just move. If you got no one, just move. That's all I want to see, some movement. I'm not seeing enough movement.
That's not bad for a game that started as a PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds knockoff tacked onto a completely unrelated survival game which, incredibly, is still in early access. But Fortnite was never just about the Battle Royale. Fortnite is a social space. It's a place to express yourself creatively. It's a spectator sport, an interactive story, the birthplace of a new business, and more. It changed the gaming world forever. By this point, nobody needs to argue that games are art. They're creative endeavors. Of course they're art. Still, in 2013, some people weren't convinced. Gone Home helped change their minds. It doesn't have much in the way of action, since you just walk around a house and look at the things you find, but that doesn't make its story any less emotional or its world any less compelling. Gone Home is a masterclass in environmental storytelling, using everyday objects to weave a powerful narrative, and helped pave the way for other narrative adventures like The Stanley Parable, Firewatch, and What Remains of Edith Finch. While some critics derisively call Gone Home and its ilk walking simulators, this genre just provided a new format through which games can tell stories. Hearthstone, Blizzard's card-based, free-to-play World of Warcraft spin-off, was a hit almost immediately. It's easy to see why. Strategically, Hearthstone is easy to learn, but hard to master. Keeping track of the meta and devising expert strategies can get complex, but it doesn't take much to jump in and play. As such, Hearthstone was instrumental to the rise of game streaming as a legitimate form of entertainment, and it remains one of the most watched games on Twitch today. It's spectacularly easy to follow. Unlike most other competitive titles, Hearthstone doesn't jump between cameras or require any pre-knowledge of the mechanics. Everything you need to know is right there on the screen. That makes Hearthstone an excellent esport. Not only can you learn new tricks by watching experts, but if you want to give it a try, there's no barrier to entry. Heck, you don't even need a computer. Hearthstone plays great on mobile too. Braving online multiplayer with random people can be a harrowing experience. Your opponents want to grind you into dust. Your teammates rely on you for victory. Make a mistake and you haven't just lost the game for your team, you've given complete strangers an excuse to bombard you with abuse over your headset. It doesn't have to be that way. In Journey, it's not. Multiplayer is the heart of the Journey experience, and yet it's remarkably stripped down. You can't really talk to other people. You can only communicate via an ambiguous chime. You collaborate instead of compete in a shared journey to reach a distant mountain. As you venture together through Journey's painterly landscapes, you never even learn each other's names. It doesn't matter. Somehow, Journey forges everlasting bonds between players, creating an emotional experience you'll never forget. Multiplayer games are capable of much more, and Journey shows the way forward. Sony's big prestige games like the Uncharted franchise or God of War follow a simple pattern. Flashy action scenes and high-tech set pieces pull you into the world while the story itself unfolds via cinematic cutscenes. It's a winning formula, and The Last of Us doesn't stray from that pattern. You can argue that The Last of Us's narrative isn't interactive enough, or that the post-apocalyptic plotline isn't that original, but you can't deny that the story is expertly told. In large part, that's because of Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, whose winning performances make Joel and Ellie feel more real than any video game characters before or since. But it's also just a well-made piece of entertainment. At times, The Last of Us might feel more like a theme park ride than a game, but that doesn't matter. It'll probably make you cry anyway.
I'm having feelings again. Like some kind of 14-year-old kid or something. I mean, you remember feelings, right?
Yeah, I have feelings every single day of my life.
Nintendo gets a lot of flack for recycling the same old formulas, but Breath of the Wild didn't just refine the Zelda formula, it upended the franchise entirely. Bite-sized shrines replaced long, winding dungeons, strictly defined puzzles gave way to open-ended situations with multiple solutions. Before, you were constricted by design, but in Breath of the Wild, you're only limited by your imagination. Most importantly, Breath of the Wild moved the series' focus from puzzle solving to exploration. There are secrets hidden everywhere, so you're always rewarded for taking risks. Breath of the Wild's various systems interact in surprising ways, encouraging you to experiment with different combos and strategies. Heck, just traversing Hyrule's varied terrain is fun. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild revitalized Nintendo's best franchise and completely changed the way we look at gaming worlds. Minecraft is the best-selling video game of all time. Over 112 million people play Minecraft every month. It launched the careers of countless YouTubers and streamers, spawned its own myths and urban legends, and made game modding a legit and profitable career. Even better, Minecraft did all that by celebrating creativity, not competition. While Minecraft's survival aspects spawned countless clones, its biggest strength is that it encourages people to express themselves. Want to make a house, or a castle, or a spaceship? What about a magical kingdom, or a working computer, or the entire planet Earth? You can do all of it and more, one block at a time. Ultimately, Minecraft's biggest strength is its players' imaginations. Minecraft gives you the tools, but it's up to the players to make their own fun. Blizzard has always been at the forefront of the esports scene, but Overwatch pushed everything to a new level. Not intentionally, of course. Overwatch wasn't initially developed with esports in mind, and players flocked to it because of its colorful characters and satisfying gameplay, not its competitive potential. Once Overwatch was a hit, though, all bets were off. Blizzard didn't just organize competitions, it put together an entire league that was structured after regular professional sports clubs. In the Overwatch League, cities have their own teams to root for. Players receive guaranteed annual salaries and can be traded, just like in the NFL and MLB. It's a whole new way of doing esports.
World needs us now, more than ever. Are you with me?
The most infamous horror game of the 10s isn't even a full game. It's just a playable teaser. When PT dropped on August 12, 2014, nobody knew what it was. All they knew was that it was scary as hell. Simply walking through a series of hallways doesn't sound frightening at first, but when it's brought to you by Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro, you better believe that things get weird fast. And then, of course, everything blew up. The game that PT was supposed to tease, Silent Hills, was cancelled as the relationship between Kojima and his publisher Konami fell apart. Eventually, Konami pulled PT from the PlayStation Store entirely. Now, unless it's already installed on your PlayStation 4, it's impossible to play. That lack of access only cemented PT's legacy by transforming PT into a digital ghost story. It's an urban legend, something you'll hear about but never experience for yourself. For a horror game, we can't think of a more fitting legacy. With Pokémon Go, Niantic delivered on a very specific fantasy. For the first time ever, you could head outside and capture Pokémon in the real world. In a little more than 60 days, Pokémon Go was downloaded 500 million times and made over $500 million. Players spent countless hours trekking from Pokéstop to Pokéstop. Some even trespassed on private property and walked off of cliffs in their attempt to catch them all.
And I was like, that's not smart.
Along the way, Pokémon Go also proved the viability of both augmented reality gaming and location-based social play. Pokémon was the perfect property to bring AR to the masses, and it showed that AR can work. The next big thing is just a matter of time. Big, open-world, go-anywhere, do-anything style RPGs had been done before. Heck, Skyrim developer Bethesda made plenty of them. However, they'd never been this big or this open, with quite so many places to go or things to do. Skyrim doesn't just send you on a quest, it drops you into the middle of a fully realized fantasy world and sends you out to make your own adventures. It's the kind of game you can spend hundreds, if not thousands of hours playing, but that's only half the story. Skyrim is also the single best showcase for the power of gaming's modding community. Basic Skyrim is very good. With fan-made mods, it's great and hilarious and terrifying and everything in between. Thanks to modders, there's more Skyrim out there than you could possibly enjoy, and it's never looked better. If this sort of RPG appeals to you at all, Skyrim might be the last game you'll ever need. Can one man change the world? Stardew Valley makes a pretty good case. Over the course of 4 years, Eric Baroni, better known as Concerned Ape, crafted Stardew Valley from the ground up. He did everything. The programming, the art, the music, the writing, all of it. All of that hard work paid off. Stardew Valley might be inspired by the Harvest Moon series, but it transcends its source material in almost every way. In Stardew Valley, running a successful farm is just the beginning. You can also dive into dungeons to fight monsters and gather loot, romance local villagers, discover the village's secrets, help solve your neighbor's problems, and bring hope back to a struggling rural community. It's charming, addictive, and undeniably special, not to mention a fitting tribute to human ingenuity. Baroni built something great from scratch. When you boot up Stardew Valley, you're encouraged to do the exact same thing. As we head into the 2020s, the 2D platformer is alive and well, and we have Super Meat Boy to thank. A decade and a half after Super Mario Bros. And similar games transitioned to 3D, Super Meat Boy showed that there's still life in one of gaming's oldest genres. It also helped establish the speedrunning scene, reignited people's passions for retro-style games, and proved that players wouldn't shy away from a ridiculous challenge a year before Dark Souls arrived. Most importantly, however, Super Meat Boy was also instrumental in kicking off the indie game boom of the early 2010s. As documented in Indie Game the Movie, nobody knew back in those days if indie games could compete against AAA titles. Because of Super Meat Boy and its peers, there are now more indie games than we could ever hope to play. That's not great for those of us short on spare time, but it's great for everyone who wants an alternative to ultra-polished AAA fare. It doesn't seem like taking a genre that's all about killing and using it to make a game that encourages pacifism should work, but Undertale managed it. Toby Fox's indie RPG, which evokes 16-bit role-playing games like Earthbound and Super Mario RPG, is charming, heartfelt, and wildly innovative. Still, Undertale's enduring legacy won't be the game itself. It'll be the community that Undertale created. Undertale memes and fan art and videos are all over the internet. When there's a poll for the best games of all time, you can rest assured that Undertale's fans will flock to the voting booth to do their part. Undertale fans are loud and passionate, and while they're not always as friendly as Undertale's pacifist undertones would have you believe, they're a testament to how art can bring a group of disparate people together. It's Undertale's world. We're just living in it. By taking the point-and-click adventure games of the 90s, chucking out the obtuse puzzles, and doubling down on story, Telltale Games did something special. It made a video game that made you care. Sure, the Walking Dead brand probably helped it get attention, but by the end of the series' first installment, players were invested in Clem's journey all by itself. And that's despite the fact that The Walking Dead isn't really any different from a choose-your-own-adventure novel. Choice, or in some cases the mere illusion of choice, was enough to draw players into the narrative. Once they were invested, Telltale knew that they'd form deep emotional bonds with The Walking Dead's characters, and used that to craft one of the most harrowing and heartbreaking stories video games have ever seen. The Telltale studio may be gone, but we'll never forget how The Walking Dead made us feel. In many ways, The Witcher 3 is like a mashup of all the biggest trends of the 10s. Do you like exploring big, open worlds? The Witcher 3 has one of the biggest, and it's chock full of interesting secrets to uncover. Do you play games for their stories? The Witcher 3 forces you to make some excruciating choices, and it always delivers satisfying, if usually unpleasant, narrative payoffs. It has meticulous combat. It has gorgeous graphics. It even has a Hearthstone-style collectible card game. And yet somehow, The Witcher 3 also manages to be more than the sum of its parts. If you like video games, The Witcher 3 has something you're sure to like. All that and The Witcher 3 made protagonist Geralt a star. Sure, the Witcher from Rivia had appeared in games before, but The Witcher 3 made him into an icon that stands alongside the likes of Mario, Sonic, Master Chief, and Solid Snake. Netflix's Witcher series might be based on the original novels, not the game, but a television show would never exist without the Wild Hunt's wild success. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more SVG videos about your favorite games are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.